Welcome to today's Explainer. Today we are unpacking a deeply psychological illusion that, let's be honest, almost every single one of us falls for in modern life. It's the exact trap that turns a brand new, very expensive exercise bike into, well, a very expensive clothes rack. We're going to look at exactly why we buy the things we buy, how our brains completely trick us into wanting more, and most importantly, how we can actually break free from this endless cycle of consumption. So let's get right into it. Picture this. It's a few days after a purchase. The cardboard box has been sliced open, that shiny plastic wrap is already sitting in the recycling bin. That one thing that seemed absolutely crucial, the thing you were absolutely sure was going to change your entire daily routine, is finally sitting right in front of you. But instead of lasting joy, there's just this curious, kind of empty feeling settling in.
Section 1. The Post-Purchase Disappointment.
All that incredible anticipation we imagined we'd experience, it simply vanishes the second the item physically arrives in our house. Life continues exactly as before, and poof, the magic is completely gone. Maybe the item gets shoved into a drawer. Maybe it's forgotten in the back of a closet, just joining a whole graveyard of unused gadgets. And then, the absolute craziest thing happens. Almost instantly, our brains just start desiring something else.
Moving on to Section 2. The Trap of Desire. You see, there is a massive psychological distance between simply wanting something and actually needing it. And the modern market, it has absolutely weaponized this distance. We are constantly, relentlessly invited to desire. A screen flashes, an influencer wears a new brand, and boom, rapid-fire triggers hit you. Last units, limited time, you deserve it, buy now. A sudden, intense sense of urgency is manufactured inside us for something we literally didn't even know existed 5 minutes ago.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the most silent trap of modern consumption is this dangerous confusion. It's the blurring of lines between discovering a sudden desire and discovering an actual need. You see an object, you imagine using it, you picture exactly how it's going to look on your shelf, and suddenly, in your mind, that object completely transforms. For those few minutes, it stops being just a physical object, right? It becomes a promise of success, of comfort, of recognition, or maybe just a well-earned reward. We convince ourselves that when this package arrives, a better version of ourselves is going to arrive right alongside it. The purchase is no longer just a transaction, it's a promise of transformation.
And that leads us to Section 3, the cycle of consumption.
But what happens when that promised transformation doesn't actually come? Well, we get stuck in a loop. And this brilliantly illustrates that exact four-step cycle. First, you've got the craving to have it. Second, that brief rush and pleasure of conquering it, the dopamine hit of clicking approve on the payment. Third, the inevitable boredom of possessing it once the novelty completely fades. And finally, step 4, a new desire emerges. A new ad pops up, a new promise is made, and the whole shebang starts all over again.
So here is a absolutely critical question you got to ask yourself. What are you actually trying to buy along with this product? Is it rest? Is it just an escape from a boring Tuesday afternoon? Think about how often we buy clothes but still stand in front of the closet claiming we have absolutely nothing to wear. Or, my personal favorite, we buy expensive objects to organize our house, only to realize we now need more objects to organize those organizing objects. We're just accumulating things to chase a fleeting feeling.
Let's look at Section 4, the inner dialogue.
Whenever we face a tempting promotion, we enter the limbo of modern consumption. It's a total mental tug-of-war. One voice in your head goes, I don't need this, I already have one just like it. But then the other voice fires right back. Yeah, but it's cheap, and you worked so hard this week. Plus, this one is way better. And how does this intense mental argument usually end? With the ultimate self-deception. I'll just add it to the cart and look at it later. We have all been there for sure.
But here is a fascinating truth we really need to slow down and absorb. Sometimes we don't even want the object. We just want the anticipation. The pleasure is entirely in the hunt. We absolutely love researching, comparing prices, checking reviews, and tracking that little delivery truck on our phones. Because actually receiving the purchase, that just ends the wait, kills the excitement, and creates an empty space for, you guessed it, another purchase.
Section 5, the 10-object test.
So how do we actually wake up from this trance? Well, there's a highly practical, introspective experiment you can do in your own home, completely without judgment. Just walk into any room and pick 10 objects. Look at each one and ask yourself 3 simple things. 1. When did I last use this? 2. Why did I originally buy it? And 3. This is the critical one. Would I buy it again today?
You'll likely find that while some things were genuine needs, others were purely impulse buys, where leaving the store without them just felt totally impossible at the time.
So, the crucial point is that the intense emotion of the purchase inevitably passes, but the physical object, it remains. If we aren't careful, our homes simply turn into museums of past impulses. They become literal, physical proof of dead desires that we've long forgotten about, just sitting around taking up space.
Finally, let's explore Section 6, the power of waiting.
This is where we learn how to step out of the endless cycle and actually reclaim control. The danger of modern consumption is so incredibly silent because there are no monsters to fight, no dramatic life-or-death decisions. There's just a giant, brightly colored button screaming, "Buy now." And on the other side, the tiny, quiet, almost invisible option to simply pause and wait.
And waiting? Waiting is your ultimate secret weapon. Pausing for just 5 minutes, maybe a day, or if you can swing it, a full week. That small window of time is very often enough to make something that felt absolutely indispensable suddenly feel completely unimportant. Not because the product itself changed, but because the temporary emotional urge passed. You didn't suppress your desire, you just realized you didn't have to blindly act on it. Which brings us to a really beautiful realization. True freedom isn't necessarily about strict minimalism or forcing yourself to own fewer things just for the sake of it. It's about needing less to feel satisfied. When we're dependent on the thrill of the unboxing experience and constant acquisitions, we're essentially just running on an endless treadmill. If our happiness is tied to things that inevitably break or go out of style, we're always going to be chasing the next fix.
So, we'll wrap up this explainer with a pretty profound question to leave you thinking today. The modern world teaches us to constantly ask, what do I still not have? Instead, try asking yourself this: what do you already have that you haven't learned to value yet? Because true wealth might be found in a person, in your home, in a conversation you've been putting off, or simply in the peaceful silence of a night where you don't need to buy anything or prove anything to anyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope you take this powerful thought with you today.